hard 5 years
I
ago.
know.
Gordy and Live Oak are like now.
We are calling this meeting to order. This is the regular business meeting of the Pasadena Area Community College District, and this is meeting number 5. And we are going to start off with our roll call.
Mr. Osterling,
Here.
Mr. Hilsman.
Here.
Ms. Brown.
Here.
Ms. Chen Lao, Dr. Fellow, Mr. Martin,
Here.
Ms. Hua,
Here.
Mr. Sarkisian.
Thank you. We are going to adjourn to closed session, and in today's closed session, we're going to report on Government Code Section 54957, evaluation of employee, superintendent, president. We are also going to discuss Government Code Section 54957, conference with legal counsel, collective bargaining for various collective bargaining groups that are listed here that I won't repeat. And lastly, Government Code Section 54956.9B, anticipated litigation, one case regarding workers' compensation, R. Guardado, claim number 532014. Now adjourned to closed session. It's 2 L's.
Yeah, like comment the
Over there.
Okay.
I don't know, I didn't see the.
No, because I don't want to wait.
No, just the shirts are hot. The pencils, we have it. Don't worry.
So you're trying to get rid of your swag.
I like this, I like this little lanyard. It's kind of cool.
We are going to the open session portion of the meeting, so we will start off with the roll call.
Sorry. Mr. Osterling,
Here.
Mr. Hilsman.
Here.
Ms. Brown,
Here.
Ms. Chen Lao,
Here.
Dr. Fellow, Mr. Martin,
Here.
Ms. Hua,
Here.
Mr. Sarkisian.
Here.
Our next item is the pledge, and before we stand to do that, in memory or remembrance of Veterans Day, I wanted to ask if we have any military veterans in the house today.
Right there. Big guy.
Okay.
And back there.
And Bill.
Yay. Thank you for your service.
Gentlemen, if we could ask you to come up to the podium there and lead us in the pledge, please.
Both of you.
Both, yeah, please.
Come Come on up, Bill.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for leading us in the pledge, and thank you for your service to you and all the veterans. Next item is C3, and that's the approval and reordering of agenda items. Hearing no call for such, we'll move on to the next item. Our next item is C4, and that's introductions and recognitions. Dr. Androgenis, do we have any?
I am going to ask our Executive Director of the Foundation, Bobby Abrams, to come up, along with our Foundation President, Bill Hawkins.
I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to preempt and go first.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. I'm delighted to be here with you this evening, and I'm here on behalf of the Foundation to pay tribute to Adelaide Hickson. As you know, she was a woman who has been very generous to the foundation, to the community, to the college. She's been an inspiration to almost all who have come in contact with her. And it is indeed a privilege for us to be here this evening to pay tribute to her. I'd like to yield my time and some additional time, if we may, to our Executive Director of the Foundation, Bobby Abram. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. First of all, I want to acknowledge Dr. Leticia Rojas in the room. She is the coordinator this year of the Hickson Teacher Prep Program. And one of our student members, Sarah Yetter, is also with us tonight to honor her. I also want to thank Shireen Adelaide, who is in our marketing department, who helped with this tribute, who spent all day long on it, so I really appreciate her help. Over 20 years ago, Alec and Adelaide Hickson began to make an impact on students at Pasadena City College. Through their historic donation to create the Hickson Teacher Prep Program and donating world-renowned art to the Boone Sculpture Garden through the early 2000s, with support for the Center of the Arts campaign through the 2013 dedication of the Arts Building, and into the 2015 celebration gala for student success. Adelaide has been a constant force for progress. She donated to innovative academic programming, scholarships, artwork, art programs, and that's just at PCC. Broadly, as her obituary in the Los Angeles Times stated, quote, she was dedicated to liberal and humanitarian values from an early age, and she was the dragon enemy of pomposity, fatuousness, and hypocrisy. She felt that her wealth and social position demanded that she be aware of and of assistance to people who struggled in life. Adelaide and Alec put their time as well as their money into the service of causes and institutions whose work they admired, end quote. Adelaide was particularly focused on scholarships because of the diversity that it encouraged, and scholarships for teachers so that they could enlarge their abilities. Her innovative work forged partnerships such as the Polytechnic Internship Program, where the funds were donated to Polytechnic School, but for the benefit of PCC student interns, basically forcing the two organizations to work together. Adelaide's active involvement with us spanned 8 presidents, 5 executive directors of the foundation, 3 deans of visual arts, and 5 directors of the Hickson Teacher Prep Program. My relationship with Adelaide began on a tough note. Her precious donation of the baby banana tree had been stripped to a single stalk in the massive windstorm on December 1st, 2011. Take note of the way it looked when you see the video. One of my first tasks was to talk with her about how it was going to be repaired. I had actually prepped and even been warned about how to approach her on the subject. And the phone call in 2012 went something like this. Mrs. Hickson, this is Bobby Abram, the new foundation director at PCC. You may have heard that your beautiful baby banana tree has sustained damage. I'd like to talk to you about how we would like to take steps to bring it back to its original state. Her response, it's not my banana tree, I gave it to you. Well, of course. Well, we would like to find a new spot for it next to the upcoming Center for the Arts, and it would be more protected and not as vulnerable to this kind of damage again. Well, would it still be in the sculpture garden? Well, technically not. It would be very close next to the, well, why would you have a sculpture garden and not have a sculpture in it? Well, you see, the U building is going to be replaced soon, and it would need to be moved during that demolition, so I don't care where you put it, it's yours. But it needs to be protected, and it needs to be in the sculpture garden. Well, it certainly will be more protected between the two buildings, and the students will be able to go up to the third floor of the Center for the Arts and look down on the banana tree and view it from the top. Well, it needs to be protected, and it needs to be seen by students. So then, would it be okay to move it to the new location we recommend? That's not my decision, it's your tree. The conversation ended. For anyone who has had a conversation with Adelaide, it was an adventure. Engaging her was like stepping aboard a carousel that never slowed down, that never stopped, kept you a bit off balance, and when you were done, you had had the ride of your life. In 2014, when the foundation began planning the 2015 gala, we had lunch, and I asked her if she would be on the gala planning committee. Again, I stepped onto the carousel. I don't like galas, all that blah, blah, blah. No, I don't want to do that. I won't support that. Well, it's to raise scholarships for PCC students. Would you be willing to let us video you and show it at the gala? Well, of course I will be in your video and talk about scholarships, but I won't come. I don't like that blah, blah, blah. Well, would you be willing to let us use your name on the honorary steering committee? Well, of course you can use my name, but I won't come and I won't support it. Adelaide never said yes to supporting the gala, but 3 weeks before the event, unceremoniously and unannounced, a $50,000 check arrived in the mail from her. During her lifetime, she was PCC Foundation's top individual donor. I shared the news of her death with Alex Kritzelis a few nights ago. Little did I know that he was in Athens, Greece, and it was 3 a.m. his time. Yet, he took the time in the wee hours of the morning to write his memories. Alex Kritzelis, now retired Dean of Visual Arts and Media Studies, said, quote, "She was a wonderful friend and transformative leader, inquisitive, and always eager to support initiatives that had the potential to elevate conditions, particularly for those in need of resources and guidance. She was the very best supporter I knew in education and of the arts in particular, of young women in need I had ever met, and also on the cutting edge of every new idea, new initiatives, and supportive of those who needed encouragement and support." Alex said, quote, "For me, as well as many others, Adelaide was an invaluable guide, an insightful teacher, faithful supporter, and a wonderful human with sensitivity, unmatched perception, amazing instincts, and a desire to always do good." He fondly remembered many long hours of backgammon tournaments where they actually played for money and she insisted on paying for her losses. Dinner, symphony evenings, talks about the arts, visits to museums, stories about travel to exotic places, and our shared desire that the world will become a place where everyone will have an opportunity to become the best one can be. He recalled, "She was tough. She took no prisoners and had no patience for anyone who didn't deliver." He said, "I shivered in her presence, but I am glad she gave me the time, guidance, and advice that helped me become a better person. I can't tell you how devastated I feel to know that the world will be without her presence, her patronage, her unmistakably piercing examination of everything and everyone who is in business with her. There is no one else I know that was as intense and intent to guide all of us to a better place. I so wish I were in Pasadena with you and everyone else she loved to celebrate this amazing woman who changed the lives of so many. A continent away, Alex and I, in the middle of the night, continued our email conversation. I believe she wants us all to continue to drive for a better world, equitable and fair, full of adventure and discoveries. And she is encouraging us from a new palace in the highest of the hills of Pasadena to stay focused, to stay strong, and to never, never stop the drive for a better world. We ended our conversation by sharing a long-distance toast, each of us with wine in hand, to Adelaide. 5 years ago, I had a conversation with her about how the PCC Foundation had grown so much and how so many other nonprofits were struggling. She said to me, "Well, they're all run by those sentimental 55-year-old women." "Adelaide," I said, "I'm 55. Her response, "But you're not sentimental. You get down to business." So in an effort not to be sentimental, please enjoy this tribute to Adelaide Finkbein Hickson.
I am a party girl, and everybody knows it. Yes, sir.
This girl is on fire.
It's so nice to see so many of you here tonight from Pasadena and the surrounding areas, because PCC has a great importance to all of us. We went and called on Jack Scott and said, "Jack, we want to support public education, and what have you got in mind?" And he said, "Well, we have 30,000 people crossing our threshold here over a 24-hour period, and we teach them, but we don't teach them to teach. So that's the program that would be well for you to start." So we did. People say, "No, what interests you? What do you plan to support? Why do you support what you support?" And the answer is education, 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 and scholarship, scholarship, scholarship. Kata Sonny, he was the baby banana tree guy. Alice Christelis took me over there and just didn't warn me at all. We just went to Kata's studio, and in the course of that, he decided that he would do a baby banana tree of enormous proportions.
Yes. It's funny they call it a baby banana tree.
That's why.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing. You don't call it a huge banana tree.
Right.
It is a very surprising, wonderful thing, and it was wonderful as part of the sculpture garden.
101. Me, 101. So I gotta be 101. Maybe it's time, maybe it's me. Maybe I can be, maybe it's that. I gotta be, I wanna be 101. Yeah. Very nice.
Bobby, thank you for putting together that wonderful tribute to Adelaide, who was, as you pointed out, one of our most generous benefactors. She will be missed, and we will adjourn the meeting today in her honor. Thank you again. Moving on, my superintendent reminded me that I failed to report out what happened in closed session, so out of order, I will advise that by unanimous vote, the Board of Trustees voted to approve the settlement of the workers' compensation claim, number 532014, in the amount of $62,350. Now, getting back on to the proper agenda item order, we're going to next go to item C6, which is approval of minutes from our public comment.
Move to approve.
Yes, public comment.
My mistake, I'm still out of order. We're on C5. Public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, we have two. We'll begin with Kim Miles, if she will come to the podium. And just to remind you, you know the story, but we have 3 minutes. It's good to see you, Kim.
See you all. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Kim Miles. I am the member of the Pasadena branch of the NAACP Education Committee. As you know, the NAACP recently celebrated 100 years of service to the Pasadena community. And we would like to thank PCC for joining us in that celebration. The Pasadena NAACP has a long history in this city and has fought hard to ensure equal access to education and employment for people of color. That is why recent concerns brought to the attention of the branch by members of the African American community have brought me here tonight. Concerns that a number of PCC full-time, part-time, adjunct, and interim employees have been unable to secure promotional opportunities or full-time positions at the college. Moreover, many of these Pasadena, Altadena residents strongly support the college politically and financially, have attended PCC or enrolled their children in the college. Yet, even after doing the work or holding the same or similar positions, some of these African American employees were not considered for full-time openings and were not called in for an interview. Therefore, we at the NAACP will continue to assess these concerns with open minds and open eyes. And we will work with PCC and their employment diversity efforts. At the same time, the NAACP will strive to secure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights in order to eliminate race-based discrimination and to ensure the health and well-being of all persons in this noblest of cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Our next speaker is Mr. Alex Shaganaka.
Last week at the Board of Trustees meetings, I heard one of the most inspiring quote I have ever heard in the Pasadena City College. Allow me to quote her. Just to show the rest of the group here that coming here is not completely pointless and not just a ceremonial attempt to make sure that everybody feels like they have a voice. This is from a female speaker in the public comment section. So this is exactly something I want to say, but I could not say it due to my English language disability. She said exact the same thing that I have been trying to say it for years. So, but she said this in a much better way, in a much powerful way. So I just want to share this quote with the Board of Trustees. Last week, I was on a metro bus, and then I fell asleep on the bus. So I wake up at Cal State LA station. I go to the business center, and I ask some questions. Do you have UPass for students? And I got some ceremonial answer. The good thing is that the Cal State LA UPass program, it costs the same as the PCC UPass program, $125. But the heartbreaking truth is that Cal State LA gives you unlimited access to 11 public transportation agencies for students. And the PCC UPass give you unlimited access to 3 public transportation agencies for students. $125 versus $125, 3 versus 11 agencies. That's just something I want to share with the Board of Trustees. At the end, I just want to say thank you very much, Operator Compton. Thank you very much for your courtesy. Thank you very much for your courtesy ride. Thank you for not kicking me out of the bus. So right now, as I promised to you, I purchased the UPass. So right now, I am a fare-paying passenger. So you do not have to call me a freeloader anymore. In my heart, you are the best 487 driver in the world. Thank you for your courtesy. Everybody, have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment?
Just one quick shout out to Kim Miles, who, longtime Pasadena financial aid director, and people may not remember, but I remember we had a real issue in financial aid till Kim came, and she cleaned it all up and straightened it out for us. So I just want to publicly say thank you, Kim. We remember you, and you're a big part of this place.
And that's the end of the
Okay.
public.
Thank you, Trustee Martin. Okay, now we're ready to approve minutes. This is from the regular business meeting number 4, our last meeting, which was held on October 15th, 2019. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Student trustee?
Aye.
Trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Minutes approved. We're now going to move on to item C7, and this is our board committees reporting out, and I believe we have several. Superintendent, where would you like to start?
Dealer's choice.
Okay. I'm going to start with Trustee Martin. If you've had 1 or 2 meetings, anything to report?
Well, the Budget and Audit Committee met, and most of what we discussed is on agenda tonight, so I won't spend a lot of time on that until we get to it. Right before our meeting this evening, we had our Facilities Committee that met, and we had a representative from HGA who's working on the master plan present. I thought it was a really good exchange between the board and the representative and the staff. I want to be very appreciative of the staff. I think the board asked some good questions, and making sure that incorporated into our facility plans that we are thinking of our satellite locations. So that was discussed and will be included. They're in the initial stages with an attempt to get a first draft to us by January. I think there are some important parameters yet to come before the board, which I think, if not before the meeting after the January, we'll get to see them then. But basically, just to highlight 2 of them, they're working on a basic 10-year plan, is the focus of the plan. And approximately is someplace close to about a 1.5% growth rate per year, which I think I heard came from recommendations from the Chancellor's office, but will be double-checked by some of the other information that we have. And then finally, I thought there was a lot of good input from fellow trustees, Belinda Brown and Linda Waugh, in identifying the traffic study that may have been done recently and checking in on that to include that as, potentially including that as part of the plan. So that would be my report, unless others wish to add.
Thank you, Trustee Martin. Do we have any other committee meetings to report on? Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to item D, agenda item D, which is consent items, students. Do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Student trustee,
Aye.
trustees, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're going to move on to agenda item E, which is consent items for instruction. Do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, I hear a motion to approve in a second, but I also see a light on, so we'll go to trustee Wah.
Sorry, I have to use trustee Martin's little traffic lights since
Not
mine
a
don't
problem.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have a question on E2. So I asked, so we approved MOUs with 2 districts, but in the past, we've had many more MOUs at other districts, and I'm just wondering, I mean, especially since we are in Rosemead, which used to be an adult ed center, so did we like not reach out, or they just said, we're not interested in adult ed anymore, or?
I'm going to defer to Dr. Bell to answer that question.
Thank you, Dr. Indrajit. Trustee Wah, when we started initially with the program, Arcadia Unified was a member of the consortium. They were in for about a year, and they elected to withdraw. And at that point, Temple City Unified came in. El Monte Union High School District in Rosemead, initially when we started, has struck an agreement to work with Rio Hondo, since their district crosses both areas. And so when we began, they were actively engaged with the discussion of Rio Hondo. And so the status is, once we became a consortium, El Monte Union can join us, but they can't join as an acting member because they weren't there at the time that we formed. Our other unified school districts, for whatever reasons, have never asked to actively participate.
So are we we're waiting for them to ask, or do we actively go out and let them know we have this grant, we should
For other school
initiate
districts?
MOUs? Well, I'm just wondering, because I know San Marino has asked me several times, and so I've kind of wondered why we never really approached
Well, we've
them.
reached out, not to the current superintendent of San Marino, but we reached out to former superintendents of all the school districts, advising them of the status of the consortium, and up until this point, no one had affirmatively expressed an interest of joining. We will be happy to reach out to San Marino and all the districts again. The consortium is meeting, in fact, tomorrow. I will bring it up to all the consortium members when we meet tomorrow, and we will reach out to all of the unified school districts within our service area and make the request again.
Yeah, I do appreciate that, Dr. Bell. I think, just kind of leveraging a little bit on my experience with CTE, while we're building really great programs in our own district, to really get that partnership with the K-12s, it takes a little bit of envisioning with them. So whatever we could do, I think would be very helpful, and I would appreciate it.
We'll definitely consider it.
Thank
We'll
you
definitely
very
move forward
much.
with that.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes, trustee Martin.
Thank you. So it sounds like is there any reason they can't be members of 2 consortiums?
The state regulations, unless it changed, trustee Martin, is you
Yeah.
cannot be member of more
Okay,
than one
so,
consortium.
all right.
Okay, so if it's the pleasure of my fellow board members, this was a consent item. We'll vote on item E2 since it went under discussion, and then the rest of the consent items. So we're going to start with consent item E2, motion to approve.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, moved and seconded, and for item E2 only, trustee vote?
Aye. Aye.
Trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And one locked out. Trustee Chen Lao, you're just in time to vote on consent item E2, not having heard the discussion. You can abstain if you'd like.
Yes, I abstain.
Okay, so E2 it's one abstention, one absent, and all the rest voting in the affirmative. Now we're going to vote on the rest of the consent items, for the E consent items, so that'd be consent items 1 and 3. We had a motion before, but let's do it over again.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Student trustee.
Aye.
Trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, one absent. We are now going to move on to consent item F, and this is business. Do we have any items that we need to pull out for discussion, or should we go for these all at once? Any questions or comments? Okay. So for item F, consent items for business, it's been moved and seconded. And have we moved it?
No, we have not.
Pardon me.
I move approval.
Thank you. And we need a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Trustee vote.
Aye.
Student trustee vote. Trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously with one absent. And we're now going to move on to consent calendar item G, and this is consent calendar personnel items. Do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and I noticed that we have comment. Trustee Martin, would you like to take one or more items out for
Yeah,
discussion?
I'd appreciate G2
Okay.
being a separate vote.
Okay, we'll handle G2 as a separate vote, and we'll start off with item G2 and then do the rest of them. Trustee Martin, you have the floor.
Oh, I don't want to discuss it, I just need a separate vote.
Okay, so we're going to vote on consent calendar item G. This is personnel, there's no student trustee vote, pardon me, G2, excuse me. And trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I'm going to abstain.
Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, so consent calendar item G2 carries with unanimous vote except for one abstention and one absence. Now we're going to vote on the remainder of consent calendar item G for personnel, and let's do the motion over again.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. No student trustee vote on this item. Trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously with one absentee. And now we're going to move to agenda item H, which is action items recommended for approval. And we're going to start off with H1, which is approval of board policies. Do we have any discussion on this item?
So I would like to just say that since I'm the chair of the policies and bylaws and policies for the accreditation, I wanted to say that we did meet in October, including the student trustee, and we pretty much went over and agreed on most of the policies, and I'm not sure if any of you have any questions regarding any of the policies or bylaws. So I see we have one, so this is a good time for us to discuss it before I tell you what we recommended for approval for tonight, so.
I just wanted to compliment my fellow trustee, Belinda Brown, for her leadership on this, and also the staff, President Androgianis, our student trustee, and also Crystal for her work and advice. It took a lot of research, a lot of drafting, and I think everybody in the committee was very happy with the result.
Thank you. Any more comment by trustees? Okay, we're going to call for a motion, and again, this is item H1, approval of board policies.
So I move that we approve these policies.
And I'll second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Student trustee?
Aye.
Fellow trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
That was easy.
Okay, motion carries unanimously with one absence. We're going to move on to item H2, which is approval of new board policies for business and fiscal affairs. And just by way of a brief explanation, the board policies for business and fiscal affairs are managed through our audit and budget committee led by Chairman Trustee Martin. And I'm going to start out, I think we had some very minor wording changes that were suggested after the policies were approved at your recent audit and budget meeting. And if you could report out on what those changes, requested changes are first, and then we'll start working through them.
Okay, thank you. Actually, the way I would interpret it is, during the committee's work, various committee members made suggestions, and the staff did a really marvelous job of trying to embed those suggestions into the final wording. There were two places that when you get to see what was finally written at the end of the day and it goes to the full board, I think there's a couple little word tweaks that we'd like to recommend as friendly amendments that, and I look to my fellow trustees that are part of the committee, Trustee Sandra, Trustee Belinda. I don't think we're changing the substance of what we approved. I think we're just clarifying what we approved. And those...
I think that's a better description.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the first one is on Board Policy 6250, which is the policy on reserves. There's a sentence in there that says a reserve of 18% or approximately 2 months of payroll. And the suggestion is that we clarify 18% of what. That'd be kind of helpful to know, and I actually appreciate Trustee Ostling for pointing that out. So we're recommending that that change to a reserve of 18% of expenses for clarity, and then of 2 months of payroll. And here again, just an insertion for clarity that when we say payroll, it's basically payroll which includes salary and benefits. So 2 months of salary and benefits, not just 2 months of payroll. So those would be the two insertions for clarity on 6250. And I might as well, on the same friendly amendment, I think would be the best way to do this, point out on Board Policy 6307. We had a discussion on debt, and 6307 is referencing the debt of the district. And one of the recommendations from the committee members was that we would like to make it a board policy to annually get a report on the entire debt of the district. So there's a sentence in there that talks about annually the board will review the outstanding district debt. I think it's important to insert annually and then insert the administration will present to, and then continue, the board a review of all outstanding district debt. And I'll be quite honest here, I wanted to kind of throw a little bit of the monkey on the administrative shoulders of making sure that this annually comes to the board and is brought to our attention. Now, Dr. Bush did point out that as part of our audit, there's a note in there about all district debt. So in some ways, we are getting it. And I just got today, thanks to the finance team, because Budget and Audit is meeting on the audit, the first draft of our audit, and there's 117 pages in that audit. And so I think when you're talking about once a year annually looking at the amount of debt the district is, it needs to be called out separate. So if the administration wants to use the audit to bring separately and call it out so that it gets board attention, however they choose to do that, I think we're open to that. But I think it's important that we as a board, once a year at least, are focused on and not hidden in note number 623 on page 100 of 117. That was a slight exaggeration. The district debt. So that's the backstory behind that and those two friendly amendments.
Okay, so just for the benefit of our fellow trustees, we're going to be asked to approve a series of board policies, and Trustee Martin is pointing out those minor wording changes, which will be slightly different than the documents in front of us here. So I'm just going to start off, if anybody has any objections to those what I would call clarifying changes, let me know. If not, we'll vote on these policies as they've been presented here with the amendments to clarify as brought forth by Trustee Martin. If that's okay with our fellow trustees, it sounds like it is. Then the next thing I'm going to suggest that we do is in your audit and budget meeting, Trustee Martin, I believe that all of these board policies were approved by the Audit and Budget Committee for recommendation to the trustees for approval. However, one was approved on a 2-to-1 vote, and all the rest were unanimous. And I'm going to recommend to my fellow trustees that what we can do is vote en masse on the board policies, except we would pull out board policy 6250 for any discussion, and given that it didn't get a unanimous vote for the recommendation. So if that's okay with my fellow trustees, what I will do here procedurally is we'll call for a vote on all of the board policies except 6250, and then we'll discuss 6250. And if anybody does want to go through these one by one and vote on them one by one, that's fine too, but I think the rest of them are pretty straightforward and no controversy.
So I move that we approve all of the policies except for 6250.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we approve all but board policy 6250. And any discussion on any of the other board policies before we vote? Okay, hearing none, student trustee?
Aye.
And fellow trustees, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that motion carries with unanimously with one absence, and all board policies except for 6250 have been approved. And we will now move on to board policy 6250.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to also approve board policy 6250. Is there any discussion on board policy 6250?
Yes.
Okay, we'll start with trustee Chen Lao.
Great, thank you. I was the dissenting vote on 6250, and I would certainly appreciate more discussion on this. But for some background information, I would like to have Assistant Superintendent Bush just talk about how we arrived at the 18% number.
Certainly. Currently, the district has an 18% reserve. So, and it's an easy number to start with because we already have it established. So what we're saying is we're going to maintain our reserves at the level we currently have it. Also, 18% is roughly 2 months' salary and benefits for the district. So that's why I moved forward with the recommendation of 18% to Dr. Anajanis, who also forwarded the recommendation on the policy.
Okay, trustee, is that trustee Waugh or trustee Martin over there?
It's trustee.
We're twins.
Right.
Yeah, so I did want to comment on the reserve. I know that, you know, I sometimes hear people who have concerns about that level of reserve, but, you know, having now been on the board for 9 years, I guess, and seeing some of the downturns in education budget, I really have to applaud our district for being this conservative. And I really have to applaud the trustees who have served on the Budget and Audit Committee for so long, because they have taken a quite conservative fiscal view, which has really served us very well. And especially during those times when we've had really bad budget outcomes from the state in education, we were one of the few districts that did not have to lay off any of our staff, because we were able to cover the costs until we were able to finally get a budget reimbursement from the state. Many other districts already had to send out their pink slips, and that really caused a lot of disruption and uncertainty with the staff. So I'm really happy that our staff and our faculty never had to go through that, and I'm glad that the board didn't have to go through that. Also, last week we had LA County Schools Trustees Association meeting, and we had FCMAT, the chair of FCMAT, Mike Fine, was there. And I think, you know, so I gave the presentation to Trustee Osterling. I hope that you all will have a chance to see it. Trustee Chen Lao and I were both there. I think seeing so many districts all across our state who are on the precipice of fiscal, who are on a fiscal precipice right now, it's a little alarming, and I think that Mike Fine gave kind of a recommended level of what he thought was probably a prudent reserve, but where, so much of our budget is really goes into our salaries and to our benefits for our staff. Not having that reserve, I think, really has, would put us on a great disadvantage. So I really appreciated hearing sort of that scorecard and guideline from FCMAT, and I do really appreciate that we have both a prudent and conservative administration as well as our trustees. Thank you.
Okay.
That's fine.
Sorry.
No, you can turn it off, and then I can turn it back on.
Okay.
I need a
But I
twin, or
think-
I need to get mine fixed.
Yeah.
or something.
We'll go to Trustee Chen Lao and
Then I'll do mine.
Trustee Martin. Go ahead.
The discussion in the Budget and Audit Committee centered around, I believe, with the Faculty Association, a different philosophy of how to approach looking at this reserve number of 18%. What was brought up in the discussion was that some folks felt that it was high of a percentage, and we had asked for a comparison of other single district college board policies on this percentage number, and certainly appreciate Assistant Superintendent Bush's information gathering. And what we saw was that earlier today was that Glendale College, Santa Monica, Citrus, and Mount Sac, their former policies state that the reserve is no larger than 10%. However, their current reserves are 24% or 26%. So you can see that though their policy states that it's up to 10% of the reserve, their current reserve is way above than what the current PCC reserve is. So we wanted to, at least for me, I wanted to address the comparisons and the benchmarks so we get a sense of where PCC is at, and that's one of the reasons I voted no on the recommendation. It was until that we were able to see where we were with our colleagues or with our peers that I can go ahead and make a decision on this vote. And to Trustee Wass' point of having Mike Fine be the presenter, he gave a couple scenarios, which I think is important for us to remember as we go into this vote. The number one scenario is that the state's economic forecast is stagnant right now. So we're not looking at a period of growth, we're looking at a period of economic stagnation. The second observation, and certainly some of you may know this, is that the 10-year projection for enrollment for the state is going to be in a 4% decline. And the LA County projection for 10 years for enrollment is going to be a 10% decline. And we're glad that we're not in San Francisco because that's a 17% decline. So certainly the consideration of the fiscal health of the institution is important, and we do know that 18% was I asked a question at the association meeting, what is a magic number for a percentage of reserve? And Mike Fine actually said it was 18%. And this is a percentage that is understood to be across the board through the National Governance Association for Finance Management as well.
So Trustee Chen Lao, are you changing your recommendation to the rest of the trustees, or is your recommendation?
Well, I'm not changing my recommendation, but because we're going to take another vote, right? So I'm going to vote,
Yeah, we're going to hold a vote here. I was just wondering if you were, because I remember at the meeting.
Yeah, we'll just.
Okay.
I think her points.
I can't change my vote.
I think her
Okay.
point is well taken. She'll vote as a trustee here in a minute.
Brown Act, Brown Act, Brown Act.
Thank you, yeah. Pardon me. Trustee Martin.
Thank you. So first, thanks to Sandra for pointing out all that she pointed out, because she did bring up a lot of really good topics in the meeting for discussion. I wanted to take a moment to kind of highlight what I would say is the other side of this. You know, there's no matter how thin you slice the turkey, there's always two sides. And there was some good comment made for basically the other side, or voting no on the 18%. And the idea behind voting no on the 18% was basically under the idea, number one, that it was too high, and number two, that it would be best not to quantify a number at all, but do it more qualitatively in some language that says an adequate reserve or something like that. And so that was brought out in the meeting. And the arguments for that basically where the state law says 5%, and PCC has never had an issue with the reserves being close to below 5% or ever had any problem with our reserves. And because we have kind of highlighted this 2 months of payroll as a benchmark of importance, the comment was made that we've never missed a payroll. So those were kind of the supporting arguments. And I think it's important for us that weren't in the meeting, for you that weren't in the meeting, to get to hear them. I actually thought some of them might come today and articulate them. So in their absence, I'm attempting to articulate it for them. As pointed out on the side of those that supported the 18%, and again, some of this has been referenced. First, it did pass the College Council. As mentioned, there's been some authoritative representation in the state that picked 18% as a good number. And, but high on the consideration was we just also, as part of the committee, received the analysis from Standard & Poor's on the PCC district. And one of the things that they specifically were commenting on was a board policy and the level of reserves. And Dr. Bush was pointing out to us that at 18%, there's 3 different languages, and you can clarify this better than I can remember, but there's basically 3 different levels and 3 different languages Standard & Poor's would use in rating the district debt. And at 18%, we basically make the threshold of the highest level of rating. And if this district were to move towards a bond issue in the future, the difference in that language and those ratings gets quantified into percentages of interest rates at which we would have to repay the bonds, and starts to turn into a significant amount of money. So to take that last long dialogue that I just said, it means real money to us to be at a policy at 18% in the event that we were to be issuing a bond in the near future. Finally, I want to give this a little context in that 6250 at the very beginning is referencing the topic of budget management. And not really actual management, but budget management. And what that says to me is we are directing the administration to build a budget with an 18% reserve. And that also means that in the ebbs and flows of cash flow throughout the year, there may be times where it's higher and there may be times that it's lower, but we're building the budget or the guideline or the ruler upon which we're going to measure and attempt to operate on this 18%, which has been deemed by many in authoritative positions, as Senator Chin Lau mentioned, and as S&P Standard & Poor's has mentioned, to be a very prudent number. And as someone who's in the business community, you know, I don't feel comfortable without 2 months of payroll in the bank as my just standard, what we would call working capital. If I don't have 2 months of payroll in the bank, I'm extremely nervous and taking actions to figure out what I'm going to do in case of emergencies. So I think the committee as a whole, and I certainly speak for myself here, believe after a very good discussion with good representation and arguments on both sides that asking the administration to build the budget with a starting point of 18% makes sense.
Okay. Trustee Chen Lao, you're next.
Sure. One of the key points that was brought up during this discussion was the concern that somehow the investment in people would not be as high if we went with a reserve percentage as high, and that we are focusing on investing in buildings, right? And so there's so there was a concern that that this reserve money is not going to be used to certainly support people. And what we had talked about with Assistant Superintendent Bush was that close to 90% of our budget supports people. It's the salaries of teachers and faculty and staff. And so there was also a very, I think, what is the word that I'm thinking? I think there's a clear delineation between talking about reserve and managing reserves and what's going to be happening in negotiations. So we wanted to have those be two separate conversations. And I believe that we were very clear, on that piece, is that this isn't about salary negotiations. It's about budget management and how we can control our capital for this. So I want to give that piece of it because that was something that was of concern to some of the folks that were in the meeting.
Okay. Trustees, any further discussion? Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and I'll call for the vote. I'll start with the student trustee on BP 6250.
Aye.
Okay, fellow trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously with one absence. And where are we here?
Here with the third quarterly financial status.
Okay,
Report.
thank you. So thank you. We're on item HE, which is the authorization to transmit first quarterly financial status report.
Okay, Dr. Bush?
Yes. It's time for us to file our quarterly 311. The first quarter is very uneventful in education. Over the summer months, we don't have a traditional semester in. Our expenses and our revenue are tracking, and so there's no changes from our adopted budget.
Okay, thank you. Trustees, any questions for Dr. Bush? Okay, do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Any second?
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and student trustee.
Aye.
Fellow trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously with one absence. We're on item H4, which is the approval of modifications, additions, and deletions to the credit curriculum. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Student trustee.
Aye.
Fellow trustees, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously with one absent. Okay, now we get to the fun stuff. Item H5, declaration of candidacy of Linda S. Waugh for the ACCT, Association of Community College Trustees, Public Policy and Advocacy Committee. I say this is a fun one because she's usually volunteering me for things, and I'm glad someone else volunteered
Someone
her
else
for
volunteered
something.
She cannot say no.
Yes. So, but thank you for stepping up, and I for one, just think it would be awesome to have you on that particular committee because of all of the ongoing and tireless advocacy that you're always doing. So they would be benefit greatly by your participation on that committee. So do we have a motion on item H5?
Sure, move to approve.
I'll move to approve that one. Let's get someone else for a second.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have discussion.
All right, Trustee Brown.
So actually, I'm grateful to have someone on the board that is so involved, that every step that she makes, it makes our college, keeps our college engaged. They see and respects us. So I appreciate, I can't do it. I'm glad she's doing it. So I give her my vote.
All right, awesome.
It's not time to vote yet.
Yeah, I do want to express my appreciation of all of my trustees, my fellow trustees, and the support. You know, I still have to be selected by the committee, so you're appointed by the chair of that committee. But I was encouraged by ACCT leadership to apply for a position in ACCT. So I said, all right, I could do a committee, and that's it. So this one I thought would be good for us, especially since we, I think, did a great job when we were up in DC, and consequently, we have the Food for Thought bill with Representative Schiff. And
He's a little busy right now.
he is a little busy, but you know, we can sneak out some of those documents for him and get them into the press. But no, I think that it is a good opportunity for us. I think California has really been in the lead on many educational policies as well as other policies. So hopefully we can still make our mark. But thank you very much for all of your support.
Okay, well, don't say that until you get
I
voted
know,
in.
I know,
I know, they still got to pick me.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. A student trustee.
Aye.
Fellow trustees, all in favor of nominating Linda Waugh for more duty? Signify by
Aye.
saying
Better
aye.
work.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, with one absent. We're moving on to item H6. This is resolution number 627. This is commemorating Human Rights Day, which is December 10th, 2019. Do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go directly to the vote. Student trustee.
Aye.
Fellow trustees, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries unanimously with one absent. Agenda item H7. This is resolution number 628, commemorating the International Day of Persons with Disabilities on December 3rd, 2019. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Student trustee.
Aye.
Fellow trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously with one absent. We are going to move on to agenda item H8. This is resolution number 629. This is commemorating World AIDS Day, which is on December 1st, 2019. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and I know this is of special interest to Hoyt, so I'm glad you were the one to make the motion.
Thank you.
Student trustee.
Aye.
Fellow trustees, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries unanimously with one absence. And we're now moving on to agenda item H9. This is resolution number 630, commemorating Veterans Day, November 11th, 2019. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, I just want to point out that part of the resolution I think Pasadena City College should be very proud of, and that is whereas Pasadena City College has recently been ranked by Military Times Magazine as a top 10 community college for veterans in the United States and #1 in California.
Yay, congratulations.
Yeah, and that's thanks to our VRC, Veterans Resource Center, and faculty, and to our recently retired Patricia Dorange Martin. So thank you for adding that commentary, and congratulations to everybody that helped PCC achieve that honor. We've moved in second on this, so student vote.
Aye.
Fellow trustees, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries unanimously with one absence. And we are almost to the finish line here. We are on item H10. This is resolution number 631, commemorating National Native American Heritage Month, November 2019. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Student trustee.
Aye.
Fellow trustees, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries unanimously with one absence. And we're done with the voting items for today, and we're going to move on to agenda item I, which is information. And this is our time for our superintendent president's report.
Well, thank you very much. We have lots to report this month. We've been very busy. I shared with all of you, and it's been shared as broadly as we can figure out how to do it, that we are among the top 150 colleges eligible to apply for the 2021 Aspen Prize, which means we are in the top 10% of community colleges nationwide. We are aiming for our third consecutive top 10 finish with a top 1 ultimate finish, obviously. We are looking over the report from our 2019 Aspen jury and looking at its recommendations, and we need to submit our application by Friday, December 6th, I believe. Yes. And so we are fast at work at that. I'm also happy to report that we have received a mental health grant from the state of $400,000 to cover programs through fiscal year 2022, and which means that we're going to be able to offer expanded services to our students. Next week, 105 students in our design and automotive programs will attend the Los Angeles Auto Show pre-opening industry days. They have all access passes. They will get to attend press conferences and research talks on self-driving cars. In addition to getting to see the full range of exhibits at the LA Convention Center. Jackie Javier at the Freeman Center has already hosted a Dress to Success seminar specifically for these students to help them with networking skills. Very important. Got to get them there, got to get them looking right to talk to people at the show. Our winter and spring recruitment is gearing up. Our winter enrollment is strong, and we're actually trending ahead of where we were last year at this point in time, so that's great. Some upcoming events to share tomorrow. Several of us will be going to the Campaign for College Opportunity reception, where we will be honored once again for achievement in our associate degrees for transfer. Next Wednesday, November 20th, 6:30, here in Creveling, we will have the last of the Carnegie Lecture Series in partnership with Carnegie Observatories. The talk will be The DNA of Galaxies with Dr. Allison Strom, and my niece's husband came to the last one. He works at JPL, and he loved it, so high regard on that one. So December 3rd, I will be hosting the President's Holiday Party right here in Creveling Lounge. It will be festive fun for the lounge, festive fun for the entire campus, and of course, you all are invited. Already chose the menu. It's going to be yummy, and there's going to be a cookie decorating station. So come and get your cookie frosting on. On December 4th, we will be hosting a hearing at Pasadena City College of the Assembly Select Committee on Student Debt. There will be there will be testimony and workshops on the impacts of debt on education in California, and Trustee Wah will be testifying there, correct? And January 7th, that's going to be a really fun day, everyone. Put it in your calendars because that is the official investiture ceremony where you will be officially investing in me as your superintendent president. And we'll be looking at it from the almost 1 year perspective and getting one of those big presidential medals. And I already said it's got to be big.
What time
It's
is
going to be a
that?
cookie.
That is Tuesday, January 7th.
At
I
what-
know, don't make it a cookie, because then I'll eat it. It'll go away. No, this has to last me. The weekend before Thanksgiving, we are going to once again host the Million Meals Marathon. And that's 11 a.m. on Saturday, November 23rd, through 11 a.m. Sunday, November 24th. So yes, you are not imagining things. 24 hours. And we are going to host a 24 hours of food donations. So there will be a friendly competition between divisions and departments, and all proceeds will go to the Lancer Pantry and to the Pasadena Humane Society, because pets need food too. And so I really encourage everybody. I will be driving right back through here, the 210, on my way back from CCLC. So I'm going to come and get in on the action. So I hope everybody else does too. Finally, I'd like to propose to Trustee Osterling that we adjourn in memory of Luis Llamas, a student veteran who passed away in a motorcycle accident over the Veterans Day weekend. And Luis was an Army combat veteran with service in Afghanistan. He was a first-generation student in the EMT program and was the primary provider for his family, and unfortunately, he was only 24 years old. So with that concludes my report, and I just want to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving, because we will have a holiday before we see you next. And between now and Thanksgiving, please, please, please consider donating food or finances to our Lancer Pantry, because at the holiday time, that is oftentimes where we're having hungry students, food insecure students is really difficult, because the world around them is gorging out on food, and they are food insecure. So please consider that. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Your party where we decorate the cookies, what time was that here? December 3rd?
That's going to be from 2 to 4.
2 to 4. Thank you.
On Tuesday, December 3rd.
3rd, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Superintendent Androgenis. We're going to move on to item J, which is shared governance announcements. And as usual, we'll start way over on my far right with Dion
Yay.
Shelton, Associated Student Presidents. What do you got for us tonight?
Some pretty cool things.
A lot. A lot has happened since our last meeting. As you all know, and if you didn't know, we gave you some reminders that it's homecoming week. The last home game is this Saturday at 6 p.m. So if you all come out and show support, that'll be great. Tomorrow is our pep rally, where we will be announcing our homecoming court, and the band will be playing, and the football team will be out there, and the cheerleaders will be out there. So if you all are on campus from like 12 to 2, just come say hi in the quad, and we will be out there. There's also going to be a wax hand station, so if you're like into sculptures of your hand made out of wax, you can do that in the quad tomorrow.
Interesting.
And hold on, give me a second. Sorry, y'all. Okay, and since our meeting, I know I said last time we were going to Seesaw, and myself and several other board members had the opportunity to present and facilitate workshops on leadership and leadership development within conflict resolution, and those went over very well. We got lots of compliments on our workshops, and the students were all trying to figure out how they can incorporate the lessons that we taught them to their student government. So it was really great. That experience was fun. I think could have been like last weekend or the weekend before, I was invited to the foundation dinner, where they announced me as a voting member on the foundation board, which was a really cool experience. It was a great time. I saw some of you all there. It was fun. And next we have my shared governance campaign, or our shared governance campaign. I have started, and I'm in the process of finalizing the script that I want to go by to have students be more aware of what shared governance is. I'm going to be meeting with Alex Buckelhide tomorrow to see how we can get that widely publicized on the campus. And Dr. Hennis also said that he would like to help with the campaign, so just getting more faculty support with the campaign would be great as well. And then we have, there's going to be, or I'm going to have a president's brunch where the topic of the brunch is empowering the voices of the students to let them know that their voices matter and that we want to hear them and about their journeys here at PCC, what they might struggle with, what they might succeed with. And it's going to be here in the Creveling Lounge. It's going to be December 9th from 12:30 to 2:30. And then we have, for my last announcement, sorry, y'all. But I do want to just acknowledge that you all I'm glad that you all made the resolution to acknowledge the National Native American Heritage Month, because as an association, we tend to, before all of our meetings, we acknowledge that we are conducting business on Native land. And I like that fact that we're trying to model each other's missions. So thank you. That concludes my reports.
Thank you, Dion, and congratulations on being admitted as a voting member to the PCC Foundation. And you also conveniently forgot to mention that they awarded you with a scholarship. So
Yes,
congratulations.
that was very exciting.
Okay, moving on. Classified Senate, Mr. Jonathan Lim. Take it away, sir.
Good evening, trustees. So I'd first off like to congratulate and welcome the new classified members to the PCC family. I believe it's Anthony Brown from Fiscal Services and Maximilian Mori of HR. And I'd also like to recognize that there's a few leaving, including Devin Fleming, which I think he went to the Caribbean, which very.
Yeah.
And we also have Casey Martin and Kathleen Lassiter, which she gave 22 years of service, which I just wanted to recognize, which is pretty amazing. I'm also like to report that we got through most of the APs and BPs that were up for discussion, and got those through. Next week we'll have our fall general meeting Wednesday at about 11:30. So hopefully. Some of you guys will be able to attend, and we can generate some more momentum for next year. And then May of next year, we'll have classified week, and we're in discussions about trying to make it, bring back the full week and have a culminating day, that last day, just to commemorate, classified group as a whole. So just stay tuned for more of that upcoming events.
Thank you, Jonathan. Management Association, Mr. Tito Altamirano.
That is me. Thank you and good evening. Our managers have been extremely hard at work ensuring that our students, staff, and faculty are well served. And it includes some PD for ourselves as well. On November 1st, managers took part in a leadership training program to help better support our constituents in that area. But now on to the highlights and announcements of a few managers. First, Tamika Alexander, who is our Outreach and Transfer Center Director. For the past decade, her area has had coordinated two essential initiatives in our local area, all of your districts, in the local area high schools, in PCC Counselor Lunch and Learns, as well as PCC Application Days, to help students come to PCC. The Counselor Lunch and Learn sessions take place right now during the month of November and are designed to update high school staff and counselors about PCC programs and services. These sessions provide a great way to ensure that lines of communication remain open and we meet the needs of our high school partners and their students. The second of which is the PCC Application Days will be held at all in-district high schools the week of December 2nd to ensure that high school students receive assistance with the application. And in this area, the high school students can sign up with their college career centers. On the other end of supporting our students with the transfer part, again, transfer season is here and in full swing. University reps and transfer advisors are available to help students with the Cal State Apply and UC applications in L110. And the deadline to apply to both CSU and UC campuses for the fall 2020 semester or the quarter is Saturday, November 30th. And again, PC Transit is actually one of the busiest centers in the entire state. And the team reported a total of almost 3,500 contacts were made in the 12-week period since. Next, we're happy to report that our own Orone Nweri, who works with our talent search, completed a NASPA fellowship called Ujima this week in Portland. And similarly, Dr. Isela Osegueda completed the Leading from the Middle Academy along with a team from PCC. And last week, our very own Dr. Jason Robinson, our PD director, hosted the SANFAC Mentor Program, and in which some of our own managers took part in that. And future announcements, on Friday, November 22nd, Olivia Liu, our Director of International Students, and other international groups on campus will be hosting a Thanksgiving dinner here on campus, actually here in Krevling Lounge, from 5 to 8 p.m., and all are invited to participate. Lastly, last one, Dr. Brad Klein and the Pathways FYE team will be hosting the College One Poster Conference on December 3rd and 5th, where over 2,500 students will present their research around the One Book, One College selection, Little Nations, and other stories. On that day, the board, staff, faculty, and committee members are all encouraged to attend and engage in conversation with our students. And later in the evening, on the 3rd, after the holiday party, the play Always Running, adapted from the award-winning book, will be taking place here on campus in Sexton Auditorium starting at 6 p.m. And after the play, the author of Always Running, a book that I read while I was a student here, Luis J. Rodriguez, will be part of a panel along with the artists doing the play. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Tito, and also thank you once again on this Veterans Day week for your service to the U.S. Marine Corps. Academic Senate, Dr. Matt Hennis.
Hello, good evening, and thank you. My report is short in comparison to these. I recently attended the Academic Senate for California Community College plenary session where 300 state leaders were in attendance, community college leaders were in attendance. Focus was on equity, diversity, and inclusion, and we passed a bunch of resolutions, some of which focused on that, and then some other issues that are at the forefront of the conversation are, of course, AB 705. But I'm going to be looking at ways that I can bring some of that diversity, equity, and inclusion content to our campus. I'm happy to report that I've had the opportunity to be a part of engaging the faculty to get their input on the facilities master plan. A survey was administered to the entire faculty, and that preceded a Q&A that was held in the Academic Senate with HGA, the firm that's preparing that document. We will be, the Office of Institutional Effectiveness will be administering a survey tomorrow regarding the configuration of the calendar for the next academic year, so that we can try to meet various needs and see what the faculty, where the faculty stand on that. We had what I think was a successful round of faculty hiring prioritization. The committee met, and then we had the composite meeting with the superintendent president and the vice president of instruction. And I'm happy to report that in the top block of candidate or positions that we agreed on over 2/3 of those positions. I was appreciative of the conversation that we had and the well-reasoned approach that the administration came to the table for that. And finally, I among those separating from the college, I do want to recognize Tammy Knott Silva, who has taken an administration job on a different campus. And it seems every other meeting I'm thanking a faculty member who has entered the ranks of the administration at one of these meetings. And I think it's a testament to the opportunities that are afforded our faculty when they have the opportunities to be in leadership positions on this campus. And 2 of them have taken leadership roles on this campus and 1 on another. And I think that speaks well for the opportunities that they have, as well as the folks that we're picking to be in leadership roles, seeing where they're able to go from there. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Matt. And I don't feel quite so bad for missing all those agenda items today. As it turns out, I'm not alone. Our superintendent has more items to add. So Dr. Androgenis, you have the floor again.
Okay, so 2 items. I just wanted to say that I enjoyed going to Santa Monica College a couple of weeks ago to see our football team in action, and they beat SMC 38-2. Yep, the only thing that Santa Monica managed to score was a blocked kick that they ran back for a safety. So it was awesome. There were not many of us in the stands. I think I only heard 3 other folks cheering for us, but either way, it was awesome. And today, the football team brought me a signed football from that game, so it was very cool. But what I was remiss in mentioning was that we had a massively successful conference here yesterday.
That's right.
In this room called The Future of Work. And Salvatrice Cuomo and her staff just did an amazing job.
Girl.
We had Assemblyman Chris Holden who got us started. When I came back to moderate a panel, Senator Portantino was here, and the speakers throughout the day were just amazing. And it was really a phenomenal day, and so far everything's been very positive. And I think the great thing is that it really sets our college on the map. It puts us on the map for putting together a convening to talk about something that's really important to Southern California, to the state, and that we get really important speakers here, and that we get people to stay. Because I greeted people at 9:15, and then I came back to moderate a panel at 1 o'clock, and the room was pretty full. And that says a lot if you can keep your audience. But it was really an amazing day, and congratulations, Salvatrice.
Yeah, thank you, Salvatrice, and congratulations. That's really important with the renewed emphasis on CTE that the Chancellor's Office has given all of our community colleges. Now we get to my fellow trustees, and we'll start on my far left with student trustee Alex Sarkissian.
Hello, I'm following Dion's trend of long reports. So first of all, we are in full swing of our homecoming week. You may have noticed the spirit gear on your tables. I also wanted to point out, so the little necklaces you have, they are USBs.
I know, this is so
And they charge iPhones
Cool.
and Androids.
Ah,
So
I didn't know.
we are an inclusive community. And I just wanted to point out the shirts that are also on your table were designed by Crystal Rock of our Public Relations Committee. She did an amazing job with those. So since our last meeting, I attended the ACCT conference in San Francisco, and I attended a National Student Caucus meeting there, which was really interesting because it just gave me a lot of perspective on different student issues on a national level. And I also met the student trustee from the other PCC, Portland Community College, so that was cool. We took a selfie. I also was able to just hear a lot of the sessions, just a lot of interesting equity statements. That was a really big theme throughout the conference that just also helped me gain a lot of perspective for different meetings I might be sitting on here. And then about 2 weeks ago, our student lobby committee held a lobbying roundtable right here. And we had a really great turnout. Over 50 students attended. We had representatives from Judy Chu's office and from the Day One organization, and they just helped us out, the new student lobby committee out, with just how to effectively lobby for our upcoming trips. And we had a lot of interest from students from the Puente projects and Ujima attend, and our lobby committee actually just got approved from our association's board to support the Food for Thought bill we were talking about earlier. So we're very excited. And this is all headed by our VP for External Affairs, Frida Ramirez, who is in the audience doing a great job. And if that's not enough, at CSA, she was elected the president of the Latinx caucus, which is amazing. She ran against 10 people, and in those kind of seminars, it can be a mess, the election, and she pulled through, she's on fire. And then I also attended the CCLC Student Engagement Council webinar, which just gave me a really great breakdown of legislation to focus on for the year that I might be talking to y'all about, and just important updates regarding legislation proposed in Sacramento and in the Capitol. I also attended the Dia de los Muertos closing ceremony that was held by the Puente Club, and there were some just wonderful, lively performers, and I just did a wonderful job of educating the audience too about everything going on around that event. And personally, I had a friend last year who passed away, and I put her photo on the altar last year, and her photo was still there this year, which is just really sweet. Halfway done. So, also myself, Dion, and Frida had a meeting with Dr. Levo earlier this month, and she just did a great job of clarifying student issues for us, because as a board, we really don't want to be people that are just pointing out student issues without some solutions. And I also went to lunch with Trustee Osterling. He treated me out to Haydar Barbar.
Did he paid, right?
He paid. I don't know if that should be on the record, but yeah.
He ordered the surf and turf on me.
He gave me some just great advice for the year ahead, and I gave him some great advice on what to order. And he also just let me in on some really interesting PCC history about like the buildings around campus, which is really interesting. And just for future events, myself, Dion, Frida, and our Chief Justice, David Ramirez, will be attending the CCLC annual conference in Riverside, I believe next week. And we also plan on stopping by because PCC will be speaking about our career center there, which is really exciting. And that Saturday we're leaving, there's going to be an LGBTQ summit for California community colleges, also in Riverside. So we're there, so we're going to stop by. And the Office of Student Life will also be hosting a transgender awareness workshop towards the end of the month as well. And today, at our Associate Students meeting, we established a timeline for our VP for Academic Affairs position, which is the last vacant spot. So Terry Juni, you will have a protege soon, student protege. And we also discussed so I've been talking about this a lot, which is the Trustee Tuesdays event I want to be holding this upcoming spring. And what the objective of it really I want to do is getting rid of the gap between trustees and students and making it a very approachable way for students to talk about issues. And we just plan on having great food, great administration, hopefully attending, just great time overall. I presented the idea to the ASPCC board today, and they really like it. So at our next meeting, I'll be getting more into depth about that. Last thing, so if you guys, at the end of the meeting, if you go down the stairs, you might notice some window clings that are up. So we just did this, basically they're like window stickers to just publicize the Office of Student Life, because we are a bit hidden and there's just so many great resources there. So this is something I've been working on since last spring when I was a PR person. So I want to thank my PR committee from last year and Lindsay Reed, who's a flea market coordinator, and just OSL staff for really pulling it together. Yeah, that is all. Sorry, thank you.
Alex, thank you for that comprehensive report. Also, you'll remember that Alex is the one that supplied us with the Halloween bling last meeting. Now we have the homecoming swag. Alex, we have great expectations for you for the December meeting, for the holidays. No pressure. Trustee Chen Lao.
Thank you. I have two items to report on. The first one is that I'm the representative for PCC to the LA County School Trustees Association, and certainly Trustee Wah talked about having Mike Fine present. So the actual name of his agency is Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team, and it's quoted as the most important education agency Californians may never heard of, unless their school district has financial trouble. Unquote. So it was really interesting. Certainly I talked about earlier about some of the observations that Mike presented, but what my main takeaway was that when he talked about risk indicators for a college district or a school district, one of the main ones is leadership and governance. So what he said is that when school districts or college school districts are in trouble, usually it's because of decisions that the board has made or leadership has made about 10 to 15 years prior. So my takeaway is that the decisions that we're making today certainly would impact, you know, PCC 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the line. So certainly our fiduciary responsibility I was reminded of our fiduciary responsibility to the long-term health of the institution. And the second item that I would like to report on is that our president is going to be going to another meet and greet. I think she just needs to do a few more. No, I'm just
a few more.
But this one has a bit of a special meaning to me because it's co-hosted with East West Bank. East West Bank, as some of you know, is our local bank in the community, and it's headquartered here in Pasadena. It employs 3,200 employees. But how it started is that it was started in 1973 in the city of Los Angeles around Chinatown, and it was started because local businesses, Chinese business owners, were having trouble getting loans from mainstream banks. So East West Bank was started to serve a community that was not getting service from mainstream banks. And now it is a global institution in all parts of the world, but it is rooted in serving minority, constituents. And so we will be having a local business meet and greet with the superintendent, and I invite, you know, the administration team to attend as well. And it's part of the effort to galvanize and nurture and cultivate corporate partnerships, certainly with the college as part of our CTE or workforce development work to partner with industries. And certainly I feel like it also serves our equity, inclusion, and diversity values as well. So please join us December 9th, 5 to 7 p.m. at East West Bank here in Pasadena. And what it also has, you may not know this, it has, through its CEO, Dominic Ng, one of the best Asian art collections in the world. So you can get to see some great art as well. Thank you.
And Salvatrice, you can go there and pick up some internships and jobs for our students.
Or some art.
Yeah. We're gonna move to my far right, Trustee Wah.
Oh, okay. So, you know, I want to congratulate the students and such great leadership, and I know you have really busy schedules, but you're always, this year, I know you guys have really just made a yeoman's effort to be at things. So I just want to thank both Alex and Dion for all of your leadership. And congratulations, Dion, on your scholarship.
Great.
It was great to have dinner with our students. So this week I was joined with Trustee Brown. We went to the Pasadena, and Dr. Andrajanis went to the Pasadena Women's Health. It was well attended. Dr. Bell is the chair of the Man Cave, I guess, which I guess we'll have to invade and find out what's really happening there. But anyway, it was great. This is also, this Friday, we will be celebrating the Asian Pacific Islander Disabilities dinner, and we usually have PCC students there, but this are PCC students who are training in leadership, but this year we did not have any nominations, but we do have alums who are coming back. So I want to thank PCC for always being so responsive. Trustee Martin and I attended the Asian Youth Center, which serves many of our community throughout the San Gabriel Valley. So I think that was a really great event. And I attended the Immigration Resource Board Gala last week too. And if PCC is not aware of this, I really urge you to find out more. It's a really great resource center for any of our students or any of our community who are seeking information or need immigration help. So this is it's a volunteer group of both financial resources as well as legal resources. And The Cal State LA Charter College of Education will be having their gala this week also. The Charter College of Education at Cal State LA actually educates over 80% of our educators here in LA County. They either go through there and for certificates or for classes. And then I want to encourage you all who are going to the CCLC. So we have some great presentations. Dr. Andrew-Jonas will be on the financial aid board, as well as
The Freeman Center with
Freeman Center,
Cynthia
right.
and with
Dr. Olivo.
Salvatrice.
Right. Okay. So we have some good presenters. We have
Ew.
Trustee Hilsman will also be there presenting on politics in the community college. And the joint caucuses will be joined by the Chancellor's Office, BOG member Aguinaldo. We will be presenting on data disaggregation and the impact on diversity, equity, and inclusion, big topic in the community colleges now. And I also, did I say financial aid? So you're on the financial aid 1.0. Right, you're on the panel. So Dr. Andrew-Jonas will be presenting from the CEO's point of view on the financial aid, but this will financial aid 1.0 will be discussing the re-architecting and changing the culture of how we deliver financial aid to make it more student-centered. And Dr. Olivo will be joining us on the 2.0 task force, so we're looking forward to that. We will be joined by TICAS on both of those efforts, and they'll be partnering with us on 2.0. And then I want to thank Dr. Andrew-Jonas for agreeing to be a speaker on the 5-Star Committee, which is a coalition of 5 school districts, their superintendents and board members, and you'll be talking about the educational issues in the area. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Wah. Trustee Martin?
No report.
Okay.
really?
Be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. Thank you, sir. Trustee Brown, you're up.
Did you hear that? Be brief, be gone. So basically, I do not have a report, but I do have 2 observations that I failed to bring out while we were going through our agendas. And it actually has to do with the addition to the curriculum, not deletion, but addition. I was like so touched when I read out of 170 work experience internship. I just melted. If we could just find more of those internships to put in, you know, and with what Salvatrice did this past week, and with what our fierce Vice President is doing, we are actually making progress. It seems a little slow, but it's making a lot of sense. So now we have our work, future work, and now over here we have internships already in the curriculum. And what I really love was to see how we're transforming. We're transforming our curriculum to align, because all these other new additions are aligning. We're talking about electric cars. We're talking, thank God we got the picture. And I thank you guys. Very good job, Salvatrice. I really enjoy that. And I hope we'll have not many more, but we put it in gear and start doing what we're doing. Thank you.
Dr. Juni, your thoughts?
So if I could just comment, I
Yes.
appreciate that you noticed that. What you also noticed probably was that the curriculum packet was pretty thick this board meeting. The December board meeting will be worse because this is the end of the fall curriculum season, and the Curriculum and Instruction Committee is doing a lot of work. You will see more internships in that packet. It's a push that that we're doing right now, obviously, in collaboration with with Salvatrice's office and the work-based learning crew there, but also the faculty are very interested in developing internship courses for many of our programs, and so you'll see quite a few coming forward in the December packet as well.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Brown. Trustee Hilsman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just as part of the theme here, I sit on the Business Council of the Foundation, the PCC Foundation, and the internship issue is really coming together now. I know that the Foundation is very supportive of doing their part to outreach to the community, corporations, businesses, to bring internships to the college. And I think with the fine work that Salvatrice has done, we've ironed out some of the wrinkles internally in terms of getting a smooth sailing for employers who want to get interns. And so I think there's a lot of excitement in the foundation about how we can help that effort. So congratulations, Salvatrice, on that. We're very appreciative of it, and also the Future of Work Conference was terrific. Dion, congratulations again. That was a great evening, and congratulations on your honor. Also, along the lines of work and internships, I think that Trustee Chen Lau's outreach to East West Bank is really a terrific step, and this is the kind of thing that we're talking about with the foundation, is to reach out to corporate, our community, and kind of have an outside-to-in approach where employers will know that we have talented students that are really appropriate for their businesses, and that they can come to us for internships and future employment. Then I had the pleasure of, I was moderating with my former writing partner, Sheldon Bull, at a lovely event, which for the Hometown Legends series for the foundation. So we had a lot of fun, and I think Sheldon was really touched that PCC, he's an alumni of PCC, he's a staff writer and producer on the show Mom. He's worked on everything from MASH and Newhart to Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Coach, a bunch of others. And he went to UCLA, but they've never recognized him for anything.
Well, that's because we're more better.
Yeah, I said that. I always say that. So I think he really appreciated the honor, and I think he's a very proud alumnus of PCC.
Thank you, Trustee Hilsman. And we've had some great of the Hometown Legends series, and I thought that was the best one. Very, very well done. I'll be brief in my comments. Tomorrow night, we're going to divide and conquer. Hoyt's going to fill in for me at the campaign.
Yeah, for college opportunity.
For college opportunity, where we're going to pick up some hardware for
being awesome.
For being awesome.
When it awesomer, when it comes to our associate degree for transfer.
Thank you for filling in, and I'm going to be attending the 3rd annual Skip Robinson basketball tournament right here on the PCC campus. Yeah, exactly. And that concludes my remarks, other than I want to wish everybody here a warm and wonderful upcoming Thanksgiving holiday. We are closing in on the finish line. We are on item 3J-2, proposed future board business meeting dates.
We have no changes.
No changes, and I'll only add if you could circulate for a retreat.
Yes,
Yeah.
we will do that.
Okay, we're really getting close now. Item J3, proposed future agenda items. Trustee Wah.
Linking to the retreat, if we could send some notice out, because there are some agenda items I hope that we could discuss at the retreat, and I'd like to submit those whenever you get a date. The other thing is, I had a few minutes before I went to the facilities committee meeting today, so I stopped over at the Freeman Center, and it was really outstanding. I was so impressed. And you're right, the internships are really this is something I think we have all been really hopeful that we could make some progress on, and I can really see the light at the end of the tunnel, so congratulations on that. So I'm hoping that we could have a presentation whenever you think that it's soup yet, and we could, I think it's a great way for us to showcase something that's really special, so.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And just in terms of future agenda items, I just wanted to make the board aware that at the January meeting, we will have a study session on the educational master plan that will be very close to completion at that point. And so it will be a great opportunity for, I'm always looking for great opportunities for Crystal to make presentations. So yay, I get to I get to have her make a presentation. But I think it'll be a great opportunity for you all to have a chance to look at the plan that has grown out of your adoption of the statewide Vision for Success goals that we, brought down to our college, and how we're going about our strategy for implementing that, what we have in mind. It'll give you a chance to comment, have conversation before it kind of rounds the corner for final approval at the college level before it comes here. So you will have an opportunity to see a fairly well-baked document, but not one that is, completely without comment.
Thank you. Okay, we now get to everybody's favorite point on the agenda, adjournment. And once again, thank you in observation of Veterans Day. Thank you to all of our veterans. We are adjourning tonight in memory of Adelaide Hickson, who we saw the tribute earlier today, who passed away at the grand old age of 101 and was tremendous benefactor to PCC. But we're also adjourning tonight in memory of student veteran Luis Yama, who passed away much too young at the age of 24. This meeting is adjourned.